Hello and welcome to the Freelancers Tea Break, the short and sweet podcast you can enjoy whilst you're making a cuppa. I'm your host, Emma Cossey, and this is the podcast for anyone who is already freelance or is thinking about going freelance. Welcome back to another episode, and this week we're going to be talking about directories. Now this has sprung from a LinkedIn post I saw all about directories and are they worth it? And I don't think it's a yes or no answer. I think there's a lot of things to ask yourself, a lot of considerations. And also, I think it depends on how new you are to freelancing and running your own business. I actually think as a new person, it's quite a useful tool because immediately you're hopefully on a directory that's got some good SEO, because that is kind of a big part of directories, which means that if you're listed on there, then straight away you've got a listing when people search for something in your industry or your own name, and hopefully you've got your own website and social media as well. But having that other thing there can be really helpful in terms of reinforcing your authority in that area. So I do think it's really useful if you're new, and if it has great SEO, then it's really useful. But there's quite a few things to think about with a directory, and I have been in a few over the years. Some of them have worked out really well. Some of them haven't been worth the effort. Quite often, I don't really think about it until it comes up to renewal, and then I'm like, oh, I haven't had a single person come through from that. Whereas other things, I'm like, that's been really useful, either from referrals or from some of the other things that have come along with it. So I guess two of the ones that I think have been particularly worth it are, I'm in one called Berkshire Mummies, which is a networking event I go to. That's been really useful actually, because I often don't have business cards on me, it's useful to swap Instagram links because you can just tap your phones. But if I can't do that or from a rush, I can easily just say, oh, I'm in the directory under coach. And there's not a lot of us because it's a local one, and they can find me much easier. So it's a really good kind of shorthand conversation there. And also I really like that because it's a local one. If people search for coach in Berkshire, I'm going to come up for that, which means I don't have to focus on that on my website, which I prefer to be more kind of just UK overall. So it really frees me up to then that could be the focus for Berkshire coaching, and which is the county I'm in. And yeah, my website can be more generic. So it's really useful on that front. And it's just a nice perk to also support a networking event that I find really, really helpful. The other one is Freelancer magazine, and theirs are really brilliant because they do a freelancer directory that's online, which is obviously fantastic. I'm a big fan of the magazine anyway. But they also have this it's about the size of a large post-it note, freelancer magazine directory that they send to you. And it's a gorgeous little book, and it's got all of the directory in there. I have it on my desk all the time, because it's wonderful. They use the same colours as me, so I'm like, this is brilliant branding because it's yellow as well. I love having it there anyway, and there have been times I've flicked through looking for a recommendation in there. So having an actual in-person one is fantastic, and it just looks really professional. And also, obviously, having the online version is fantastic as well. But yeah, from a marketing point of view, it fitted in really well with everything I was doing. There have been plenty of others where I had nothing come back, or it's not really been worth it. And I think some of the things you need to think about are, first of all, how much information can you put on your page, and how good is the directory when you look at it? If you go on it and it looks like a website from 2005, that's not really going to work for you, and it doesn't look that professional. It doesn't reflect you. Whereas if it's great and interactive and easy to find your social media notes, and you've got links and you've got images there, that's all fantastic. That's all really, really useful. Also, how often are they promoting it? You don't necessarily just want a directory that sits there all the time. Is there the option to occasionally be a featured person? Is there the option to be shared across social media? I know a couple of the directories are really good at sort of collating some of the people or the categories and sharing those on socials. That's a great perk, and it's so easily missed to just stick everyone up on a directory and not think about it again. Ideally, you want a directory that is very proactively promoted and supported. So that's definitely something to think about. The cost is also obviously going to be a factor. I personally, the more I would want to pay, the more I would want. I wouldn't just want a basic website that's got good SEO. I want extras or discounts or meetings. Anything kind of like that is really useful. So I'm a member of IPSI as well, which is the membership body for small businesses and freelancers, independent contractors. And they have a directory, but they also have other membership perks. They have things like jury duty cover and webinars, workshops, all sorts of useful things. So it's not just a one-trick pony. I think a very important factor is, are your ideal clients going to be looking on there? So who's going to be looking on there? So if you're the kind of person that, I actually think this is more the case for like B2C. I think, so if you're looking for services that are for the general public, not just business to business, then I think it can be really useful, because maybe people are more likely to Google plumber in Bracknell or podiatrist, I can't say that, in Maidenhead, that kind of thing. And that's more likely to come up. So that's great. Whereas I think things like social media managers, copywriters, mental health first aid trainers, all those things are more likely to be things that people recommend, or they find your content on social media. So in that way, your strategy is probably more important there. Whereas if it's more for, like these kind of consumer services, then a directory is probably well worth doing. So think how people find you. And actually one way to do that is have a look through how people have found you. Is it mainly through referrals? Is it mainly through any of these kind of systems or social media or recommendations? Then that's probably where your time is best spent. The other thing to think about as well with the directory is, do they have a rating system? And if they do, make sure that you're on top of asking for recommendations and reviews and ratings on there as much as possible. Also, how many other people are doing what you do in this directory? If there are, say you're a counsellor and there are 50 other counsellors in your area on this directory, it's going to be very hard to stand out. So you might be better off spending that time or that money doing great social media content or going to networking events, rather than putting it on a place where there's lots of other people doing exactly the same thing. I would also ask them, the directory, most of them will publish stats or tell you how successful they are in terms of their reach and their conversion, or not necessarily conversion, but how many people visit the website, things like that. But also, don't be afraid to sort of have a look. And I wouldn't necessarily ask somebody who's a direct competition, but I might reach out to a couple of people and say, I noticed you're in this directory. Have you found it useful? And most people are pretty honest about that kind of thing. So I think a lot of it is, A, how do people find you? B, does this fit in with the rest of my marketing and things like that? And C, what are my goals with it? Is it just to bring in new clients? Then maybe your time might be better spent working on your own SEO or networking, social media, PR, all these other things. If it's to support your SEO, then that's not necessarily a bad idea, but have a think about the cost. Is it worth it? What will you have to bring in to get that return on investment? So say it's 30 quid a year. That's not too bad, because then you're like, okay, say your hourly rate's £30 an hour. You only have to bring in one client through it to make it worthwhile, or make you at least break even. If you're looking at like 200 quid a year, that's quite a chunk that you've got to get back to even just break even. And 200 quid might be better spent on Google ads or Facebook ads or any of these sorts of things. So I would have a look at all those sorts of things. What I would do, I think, so you can see the little Freelancer magazine one. I think I might send that to my team to include in the image that goes with the podcasts or the YouTube channels, because I think it's a really, really lovely feature. So I hope that gives you something to think about. Directories are definitely not something you have to do, but done the right way, they can be really useful. So I'd love to know your thoughts. If you're on Spotify, you can actually leave me a comment on the episode. Otherwise, come on over to the Facebook group or the Discord. Both are free, and there's loads of nice chat in there. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful freelance week.